David, 52 cards as before, but it's a little bit different. Letters, not regular cards. All right. So random 52 letters. I mix these up, and what's beautiful about this is I promise you two things. I will never touch your cards, and you make every choice. And of course, the choices you make will change everything, change the order of the cards, the number of the cards, whatever. So, Darren, I mix these up, shuffle these up. You see all different, right? Yeah. All the way through. You're going to cut off a random number of cards. Now, nothing too small, you'll know why in a second, but it can be half, more than half, whatever. That is up to you. That is your first choice. Just cut off a packet. And then hold on to that. That's your first choice. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you've taken more cards, it would be a different number in your hand, mm-hmm. right? Hold on to those cards. I want you to deal them like this. You're going to deal them face down into a pile. Deal a pile of cards. I will never touch your cards. And you just keep dealing. And you stop anytime. Happy?
Yeah.
David, you're going to take, you can take some of the cards out of here. You can take some of the cards out of Darren's pile. And you're just going to drop them on top. Just random cards, whatever you want. Random choices. Whatever you want. It's up to you. Done. Happy.
Yeah. Cool.
But these are free choices.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's
free
yeah,
choices.
Free
Darren, I'm going to grab these, mm-hmm. but I will never touch these cards. Mm-hmm. Would you just you square those up on the table? Put these away. And now you're going to pick those up and you're going to deal, let's imagine you hold the cards for a second. Imagine we're playing poker or some kind of card game. Mm-hmm. You're going to deal four piles. Okay. So just start dealing 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go whichever way. Perfect. And then just keep going all the way around and finish the cards. Yeah, perfect. All right, so here's how it is. We shuffled the cards. Mm-hmm. You cut off a random number. You dealt a random pile. David, you added some cards. Yeah. But these are all random choices, your own choices, right?
Yeah, it's random.
Just wait for that. Okay. Your own choices. Here's what's interesting. Darren, you're going to think in your mind mm-hmm. of somebody that I couldn't know, that David couldn't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody from your past. It can be anybody you like. Just the first name. Mm-hmm. You have that in your head? Okay. Is there any way I could know this name?
No way.
There's no way?
No.
Would David know this person?
No.
Would David have met this person?
No.
Flawless. All right. So this is literally a name in your head, a thought in your head.
Yeah. Literally.
What is that name?
Do you want to say it, yeah?
Please.
Greg. Yeah.
That's a random name from your past?
Yeah, he's got school with him, innit? Primary school.
School friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Primary school.
Darren, you're going to turn over this top card. This is just the top card on that packet.
Oh, allow it.
Whoa, you're going to turn over this top card.
Whoa.
There's no way I know this name, correct?
Yeah.
You dealt random piles?
No, you didn't.
Top card.
Didn't.
David, top card.
Bro, come on, bro. You seen this?
Bro.
Nah. That's a mad thing.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a mad thing. Oh no.
Nah, absolutely. I gotta salute you. Yeah.
But look, if you've been
That's
one
crazy.
less, one more, different letters, right?
But we just pick different things and man.
That's a random name from
yeah.
the
A man was mixing the cards up and I took the thing off there that took more than half and.
Greg.
What was going on? What the hell is going on? That's mad.
Takes you back in it. You got to kind of like.
That is mad, bro.
Yeah, man.
I've never heard of
Humbles you, man. That you think.
That's mad. That was just random. I picked a card out.
Oh my days, that's in my brain, you know.
Yeah, that's right. I've never heard of Greg before, so I don't know what that is.
That's what I say to you, because when it said that, it's like, Oh no, bro. Because you'd have thought me and you rehearsed it before I come here or something like. I just said, how can you? Come on, bro.
So Donovan, this is something a little bit different.
Okay.
In the sense that it's a deck of 52 cards, but it's a letter deck. All right. So instead of normal faces, every single card is a different letter of the alphabet. All right. So you're going to make some choices, and I promise you these two things: I will never touch your cards, and every choice that you make is your choice.
Okay.
All right. So those are the two rules for this. I will mix these up, shuffle these up. And then your first choice, you're going to cut off as many as you want, all right?
Okay.
Nothing too small, you'll know why in a second, but it can be half or more than half, whatever you want. So that is your first choice. Just cut a packet, and then you're going to hold on to that.
Okay.
All right? Perfect. Now, of course, if you cut more, you'd be holding more. Right? This is already, you've made a decision. You hold on to those for a second, and you take those, Donovan, you're going to deal a pile of cards like this. You're going to deal face down onto the table, and you just deal them down, and keep going. You can deal, if you want, you can deal little 2s and 3s, whatever you want. You can even mix this up if you want to shuffle this, and you deal a few more. It's up to you. And you stop anytime. Happy? These are random choices. Your own decisions. I'm going to take these. I grab these, but I will never touch these cards.
Okay.
All right. So again, your own choices have led you here. And if you wanted a few more cards or dealt from a different place, it would be completely different. All right. Your final choice. You're going to pick those cards up. You're going to deal. Let's imagine 6 people here. You're going to deal 6 hands like this, and you're just going to deal clockwise or counterclockwise. All right, you can deal the whole packet.
Cool.
All right. So you can deal maybe a circle, perfect, whatever you want, all the way around. Random. All of these random, right? From a shuffled deck. You cut a random packet. You dealt down a random pile. And now you've dealt out these piles. Right? And of course, if at any stage you made different choices, we would have a different setup. Right? If you were to think of somebody from your past, a random name. Right? Whatever that might be.
I know.
Someone, let's say someone from your childhood. Is there any way that I could know this person?
No.
Okay, so in your head you're thinking of somebody. You've never told me this person.
No.
There's no way that I could know this person.
No.
We try this. What is the name of that person?
It's Kieran.
Kieran. Kieran. It was your choice. Kieran was what, a childhood friend?
It's my brother.
Is your brother? Okay.
One of my best friends.
But there's no way I could know that, right? Donovan, from these choices that you've made, you turn over this top card. Top card. This top card.
I wanna go, bro. I wanna go.
He even spelled it right, and his name's not spelled normal, mate. His name's not spelled normally. It should be A-N.
This is the kind of that's gonna stress me out.
Oh god, that's mad. That's crazy.
Alright.
If you'd gone any more, any less.
It would have been different.
All right, these exact cards.
May I take a picture of this?
Please. What is it? 6 letters. 6. All right. Your older brother or?
Older brother, yeah.
Older brother. All right. Here. K-I-E-R-E-N. Take these here. I leave those there. You place your hand on top. Just feel those cards. And I'm going to, what was it? 6 letters. I'm going to reach in the middle. I'm going to take out 1 card, and I'm going to add that to your hand. All right. So I take this here, like this. See the card here? Like this. And I drop it. So this, you'll feel it. Extra card now. Slightly larger pile, which will go from 6 to 7. You lift up your hand now for a second. And you You see it sticks. You see it sticks to your hand. 6 cards to 7. 7 cards.
Okay.
When did that happen? Days, bro.
I didn't think that's where it was going with it, bro.
I never thought I was going to go with it either. I thought I was going to have an extra card. That was it. At least right. Look at that. Oh.
There you go. There you go.
This is the kind of thing that'll keep me up, you know. I'm not gonna lie.
And now we move into what is, hands down, to me, the Mount Everest of card magic. For me, in terms of impact, it's a routine called Hands Off. And what I will say about this, the reason it's all the more meaningful is for the introduction of pre-show. And of course, this is interchangeable. So you can use Goose Chase with pre-show. You can use Hands Off to reveal the name of somebody present. You can swap back and forth. The differential here is that you're revealing a piece of information that they are certain you don't even know in the first place. Pre-show is a huge topic. There are many, many resources on this. Very happy to make a video on this down the road if you would be interested in a discussion on that. It's a phenomenal space. There are many ways of doing this. But ostensibly, pre-show brings you into a space where you're revealing information that your audience, they don't even suspect you know. They are certain you couldn't know this information in the first place. And when you start dealing with that level of reveal, it's a whole different story. And the level of impact goes far beyond anything else within, like I say, within card magic. This is unquestionably the most powerful thing that I do. This was a few weeks ago. I was in Dubai. I was at the Burj Al Arab. I was with a small group of Emirati gentlemen. There was a chap on my right-hand side. I said to him, I performed this routine for him. I said, would you please think of somebody who maybe was an inspiration in your childhood, a positive influence on you. He thought of somebody. We did this routine. He revealed the name. And instead of exploding or stepping up and being incredibly vocal, he simply sat back. He looked up at the ceiling and tears came to his eyes. He stood up. He came over to me, I stood up, he gave me a hug, he looked at me and he just said, thank you. And it was so powerful as a response. He was so touched by it, so moved by it. As it transpired, the name was Amer, A-M-E-R. That was the name of his best friend from school. Amer actually died as a child. He then took that name and called his own son Amer. So it just meant so much to him. And in the most beautiful way, when he looked down, he wasn't looking at playing cards. At that reveal, he wasn't looking down on 4 aces. He wasn't looking down on a card that he had drawn out moments before. He was looking down at those letters and re-experiencing all those beautiful emotions that he had shared with his childhood best friend and with his son. And this is where alphas just hit different. I will say this again and again. You're not looking down at a royal flush. You're not looking down at a 4 of a kind. When you look down at a name, you are experiencing that rush of positive emotions that you associate with that person. In terms of finding out that information, what that information is, there are many incredible resources for this. Again, happy to make something down the road, but use what you can. Use any method that you can. A few years ago, so just before COVID, I had a performance for Rolls-Royce in the UK at their headquarters. And there was a gentleman there, older gentleman, and he had come to the evening with a much younger lady. And it seemed to me this was not a long-term relationship. She was sat there on her iPhone. She was very disinterested in the party. She didn't introduce herself to anybody. We didn't speak at all. But the gentleman was very interested in magic. So I was showing him a few things, some coins, some cards, whatever it was. As I was performing, one of the staff came up and handed this gentleman an envelope. The envelope was the placement for dinner. It was the table arrangement for dinner with his position, with his girlfriend's position. And the staff said, sir, this is for you. And inside is your table placement. He said, thank you. He took the envelope and he placed it inside his pocket. And as he did so, I just caught half a second on the front of the envelope, his name plus and then a woman's name. The name was Dina, Dena. I saw the name. It didn't take much to work out that that was clearly her name. I quickly turned around. As I was cleaning up, I stacked the deck. I performed this routine for him, and I swear to you, 4, 5, 6 times this gentleman came running up to me that evening and refused to let it go how I had worked out what her name was, because he knew nobody there would have known her. Perhaps she'd been called up that day to come as a +1. Again, she hadn't introduced herself to anybody. She hadn't even spoken to me, but somehow I was able to reveal her name. Of course, mid-reveal, she looked up and she went crazy. Everybody around went crazy. And the fact that I wasn't revealing his name, it was a piece of information that he was convinced I could never, ever know. But I had just caught on that envelope. It was an incredibly beautiful thing. There have been many moments like this where you have to be a real detective. You have to be a real Sherlock Holmes, studying your situation, your environment, things that you overhear, little details that you pick up on, finding names, piece of information, pets' names, loved ones that you can then incorporate into this reveal. So again, pre-show is a huge, huge topic for another time. But when you start revealing information that they know, they are certain you don't even know in the first place, it's a whole different ballgame. All right. So hands off, this version of hands off is elevated from Goose Chase because of that reason. The method, the effect is very similar. Ostensibly, you're impossibly creating the reveal of a very personal piece of information. But as I say, this is all the more elevated for the very simple reason that it's information you don't know. And if you look into this, I use John Riggs's devices, makes incredible devices within this space. I would strongly recommend John Riggs's props, his tools, but there are many different ways of doing this. Pre-show is a beautiful thing, and I would urge everybody very strongly to step into it, put in real study, and if you wish, very happy to make another video down the road. So let's assume that through pre-show in some manner, through social media, through seeing something, overhearing something, you have discovered the name of somebody's youngest child, all right? And obviously it's all the more meaningful if it's someone that they have real affection for, real deep, profound love for. So a really great way, if you're going to use pre-show, is I like to say now, think of somebody from your childhood who was a really positive influence on you, a real inspiration in some way. And that way, again, when they see the name, they're re-experiencing all those emotions with that person. That's what I like to go for now. Think of somebody in your youth, from your childhood, who was a major role model, influence, inspiration for you. You gain that information through pre-show. You stack the deck, again, out of sight, out of the room, whatever it is. When you're ready, you bring the cards out, you introduce them, you throw in some false shuffles, and you then step into hands off. So hands off is best with usually 4 or 5 letter name, nothing too long. So in this instance, we're going to use the name Lucy. And again, just as before, the setup is identical. You have the letters oriented in the same way, and you have them with the first letter of the name at the bottom. That whole thing goes on top of the deck, and that's it. So you put this away. When you're ready, you bring the cards out, and you go straight into this. So you have the stack, you have the setup. And what's incredible about this is you start with 2 promises, 2 very clean promises. Number 1, every single choice you make is yours. This is to your spectator. You say, I promise you 2 things. Every single choice you make is your own choice, and I will never even touch your cards. And these are incredible promises as a magician, incredibly fair, incredibly clean, and they're very true. They're very real. These are genuine promises. So I bring the cards out, I'll shuffle them, of course, maintaining the top stack. I'll shuffle them a few different ways, few false shuffles, false cuts. You show the cards, you show them all mixed, and then I leave them face down on the box. So I'll leave them like this. I'll turn to somebody and I say, what I want you to do is to cut off, let's say half or more than half, a good number of cards. You don't want them to cut off a small packet of, let's say 10, 12 cards. You want a good number so that the odds of this occurring are all the more impressive. It doesn't work if there's just a few cards on the table. You want 20, 22, 25 cards, something like that. So I turn to the person, of course, the person that I've taken the pre-show from, and I say, what I want you to do is first you're going to cut off a number of cards, nothing too small, half, more than half, but just a good number. They reach out and they cut off whatever the cards are, 30, 35 cards, something like that. And of course, on top of the packet that they're holding is the name. That's it. So they cut that off, and immediately I say, please hold on to those cards. I pick up the cards they've left, and I say, of course, immediately, already, these are the cards that you've chosen not to choose. These are the cards that you've rejected, and it would be impossible for me to control exactly how many cards you've chosen. They say yes. I say, great. I take these cards, and I start dealing them face down, one at a time, onto the table. I say, what I want you to do in a moment, is deal them one at a time face down into a pile on the table. All right? You make it very clear, one at a time, face down. If they start dealing the top letters of this pack, of course you're gonna see the name. So it's very, very important. You say one at a time, face down. You display very cleanly what they have to do, and then you gesture for them to start dealing. So of course they start dealing these cards. They take this packet, they start dealing the cards face down. As soon as you spot the marking and you know that they're past the first letter, what you can do as you're dealing is you say, and of course, if you want to, you can deal twos, you can deal threes, you do whatever you want. It's up to you. We just need a very, very random packet. So again, as soon as they're past the name, now what happens is they start dealing twos and threes. Just leave perhaps a card or two after the first letter of the name. They start dealing like this. They start dealing whatever they want. You can say, you can ask them to stop. You can say, you can even shuffle these cards, the cards that they're holding, because the name is already safely on the table, right? So they can mix these up. You can have them cut the packet and keep dealing, and they stop anytime they like. Again, you need a good number of cards here, at least 18 cards, something like this, 18, 17, 20 cards, a good number of cards on the table. They stop dealing whenever they want. At that moment, you say, great. I'm going to take the cards from your hand. You reach out, you take the cards that they were holding. You say, but I will never touch the cards on the table. These are your cards, all right? You say, would you please gather those cards up? So again, they gather the packet they've just dealt. And again, the bottom of these cards is the letters that spell that name. So in this instance, Lucy. And using the, let's say, rejected cards, you spread them on the table, and you now invite other spectators to contribute to the random packet on the table. You say, madam, sir, if you'd like, you can take one card, two cards, whatever you wish, and drop them on top. We just need a very random packet. So somebody over here, let's say they take two cards, somebody over here takes one card, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But what they've done is they've just made, in their minds, a packet as random as can be. They've cut off a random packet, dealt, shuffled. People have contributed to this packet. Very, very fair, very random. At this stage, you pick up the packet, and they're now going to deal a number of packets that is the same number of packets as letters in the word. So let's say the name is Lucy. You're going to have them deal 4 packets. So again, you're going to demonstrate, so there's no confusion. You deal in a circle. You say, in a moment, I'm going to have you hold those cards, and you're going to deal 4 hands of cards. What's great here is if you can justify the number of packets. So it's not just an arbitrary number that happens to coincide with the letters in the name. It's great if you can say, well, look, there's 4 of us here. What I want you to do is deal each of us a card, a hand of cards. If there are 4 chairs, you say 4 chairs. If there are 5 chairs, whatever it is, again, it's not obligatory, it's not necessary if it's difficult, but if you are gifted with a way of justifying the number of packets, it just adds a little extra substance to it. So you say, look, there are 4 of us here. Would you please deal each of us a hand of cards? And you very clearly demonstrate they're going to deal in a circle, but they can deal clockwise or counterclockwise. It's up to them. It makes no difference, but it feels like another free choice. And you demonstrate like this, you gesture for them to start dealing, and sometimes people will not quite get this right. They'll start dealing like this, they'll start dealing. You say, no, it doesn't matter if they mess it up for the first few cards. If they do so, you just say, no, in a circle. Right? And you gesture clockwise or counterclockwise. So if they start dealing like this, you say, no, in a circle, and they go, okay, fine. Now what they're doing, this is, again, the packet that they're holding, they're dealing like this, dealing all of the cards. But what's beautiful is that after all this mixing, all this shuffling, the last 4 cards they're going to deal are the letters of the name, right? After all this random process, look, we now have, and again, from the markings, I know the L, the U, the C, and the Y. It's all done. And again, they've made every choice. Every choice was a free choice that they've made, and you've never touched their cards. Incredibly powerful. At this moment, you pause and you just let this breathe. You say, look, I shuffled the cards, and you cut off a random packet. You then dealt down a very random packet, and each of you contributed to that packet, and now you've dealt 4 random piles. Now you want to reach towards the pre-show information in a way that doesn't feel like you're going straight for the bullseye. You don't leap in with, what's the name of your youngest child? What's the name of your favorite school friend? You want to feel like in that moment you're thinking, well, why don't we go with, let's go with perhaps an inspiration from your childhood. If you could think of somebody from your youth, from your childhood, who was a major inspiration, a major role model for you. Make it feel like in that moment, for everybody else, you're just reaching for that information. You don't dive straight in. The name of their youngest child, the name of their first pet, whatever it is, whatever information it is that you have. Just get there in a gentle way and don't dive in. So you ask them for that. They say, Lucy. You say, Lucy, interesting. Have you ever told me that? Is there any way that I could know that? They say, no, there's no way. I say, would anybody here even know that piece of information? Of course, if it's a piece of information like a childhood friend. And they'll say, no. You say, there's nobody that I could have gone to and said, who was his or her best friend at school? Nothing like this. Really, for everybody else, sell the fact there's no way that you know what that information is, right? Their youngest child, the name of their first pet, the name of an inspiration from 25 years ago. Really labor that point. There is no way. You've never told me this. You've never told me this. They say, no. You say, great. Again, we mixed the cards. You made all these random choices. At this final stage, you're just going to reveal the letters, but it's very important that, or at least it's again an added bonus, if you can justify the first letter. So in this instance, you know because of the marking systems that this is the L, this is the first letter. 50-50, if it's a 4-letter word, it's 50-50 that it's going to be my packet or their packet. In which case it's very easy. You say, look, you dealt me a packet. Would you please turn over the top card of my packet? Which is a perfect justification. Or if it's their packet, you say, look, you dealt yourself a packet. Would you please turn over the top card, right? It doesn't, if it doesn't work out that way or you can't justify it, you just say, look, would you please turn over this top card? But again, it's just an added extra layer if you can justify the starting packet. So at this stage you say, would you please turn over this top card? You've asked them for the information. They've said the name is Lucy. You've reiterated the fact that there's no way that you could know what that information is. They've confirmed. You say, would you please turn over, let's say, this top card, right? They reach out, they turn over the L, and again, just like Goose Chase, you have to let this moment breathe. The impossibility of what you're about to achieve, there is no way you know that information. They have been through the fairest process to get to these random piles. You have to let this breathe. There is no rush at this stage. The first card will decimate, and now the reactions just go up and up and up. So from here, you pause and you say, again, I shuffled the cards. You made all these random choices together. You've dealt these random piles. The name was, and almost like you've forgotten the name, or you miscall it. If it was, whatever the name is, Jim, you say the name was John. If whatever it is, play it like you don't know what the name is. You've forgotten what the name is. They say, no, Lucy. You say, Lucy, you please turn over the next top card. They reach out, they turn over this top card. It's a you. Again, this reaction is going to go up and up, but don't rush. Don't rush through this. You say again, shuffle all these choices that you made. The third card, you turn over this top card. They turn this over. You pause, you smile, you say, all these choices that you made, you never told me what this is. There's no way that I could know. Lucy, it was Lucy. They say, yes, there is no way. Everybody goes crazy. You gesture for them to turn over the last card. And of course they take it, they turn it over, and it's Lucy. And this just, again, I cannot tell you how powerful this is. Just levels beyond a thought of card or a random poker hand or a 4 of a kind. What this does to people when they look down, they see the name Lucy, they associate, they re-experience all the emotions, all the memories that they have with this person, with this pet, with this relative, whatever it was. It is such a deeply powerful emotional moment, and you have to let that breathe. Just sit back, let them experience that. Again, I've had many people tear up at this moment, depending on what the name, how meaningful that name is to them. Even a mother with the name of their youngest child, people, that is enough to have some people well up. It's just such a powerful moment. And again, depending on your process of pre-show, you play with what you can. and you find an impossible piece of information. So again, you can blend this with Goose Chase. It doesn't have to be exclusively the pre-show with Hands Off, but as a process, it is so fair, so random. You never touch the cards. They make all the choices, and they still end up with the name of whatever it is. So that is Hands Off, as I say, just without question, the Mount Everest of my card repertoire. It just absolutely decimates people. It's a perfect closer. You leave it with that. Obviously, very often people want to take a photo, or you again give them the cards. If it's a very special person, you can leave the cards on the table like this. And then sometimes what I'll do is I say, look how close you were. If you'd been one card more, one card less, you turn all these over, you have them examine everything. They'll take a picture with the cards, you give them the cards, whatever it is. And it is, without question, the most meaningful, most impactful, most emotional piece of card magic they have ever seen. And also something most likely to this moment they've never ever seen before. So this Hands Off plus Goose Chase, the two of them are just, to my mind, the strongest, most emotional, most impactful card magic routines that I have ever performed to date. I gift them to you. I really hope that they serve you beautifully. By all means, like I say, this is not an effort simply to sell decks. By all means, make up your own deck of alphas with a Sharpie and a blank face deck of cards. There's obviously an elegance and a real beauty to these cards. But if you wish to make up your own, I have no issues with that. I simply wish for you to experience the chasm of difference between revealing information like this and having somebody think of a random card and you revealing what that card is. It is a different dimension to card magic. It is a different level of impact. And I hope that, as I say, these ideas, these routines serve you, your magic, and your audiences very powerfully. I am, as I say, immensely confident that in the years to come, variations on this deck will become staple in Magic. The possibilities, virtually any existing card magic routine is only amplified by the use of names, initials, memories, loved ones, pets, elements like this. And it is my only ambition in making this and gifting this to you that you step into and experience the far higher level of impact that these cards, that this concept allows for. So I wish you well. I wish you all success in your magic. Please let me know. Please send me updates, ideas, your anecdotes with these cards, with the cards that you make, whatever it is. God willing, we get to meet one day somewhere in the world. I would love to share with you a deck of alphas, to sit down, share some ideas. As I say, this, in my mind, is my greatest contribution to the world of Magic, and I have very little doubt that moving forwards, this deck and the variations on this deck will only grow and grow, and one day come to be very much a staple within the cases and the pockets of magicians and mentalists everywhere. I wish you all the joy, all the love, all the success in the world with your magic, and I will see you very soon.